Only a few reality TV shows really win the hearts of people all over the world. One show that has done this since 2009 is Pawn Stars on the History Channel. It mixes fun, history, and smart deals perfectly. Rick Harrison, who co-founded the show and the shop, has spent most of his life working in the pawn shop. He worked hard to grow and build the business. But even with all that dedication, Rick has faced a lot of personal problems and legal fights that most people don't know about. Let's look at what happened to Rick Harrison and hear the latest on how he's doing now. Richard Kelvin Harrison, known to fans as Rick Harrison, was born on March 22, 1965, to Richard Benjamin Harrison and Joan Ruth Harrison. His parents had 4 kids: Sherry, Joseph, Rick, and Chris. Rick was the 3rd child. Rick faced tragedy early when he lost one of his siblings, Sherry. Joan Harrison's first child, Sherry, was born with Down syndrome and passed away at the age of 6. Rick's father was a U.S. Navy veteran. In 1967, when Rick was 2 years old, the family moved to San Diego, California, because of his father's job transfer. Rick started having epileptic seizures when he was 8 years old. This meant he spent a lot of time in bed reading books. That sparked his lifelong love for books and reading. He especially liked a series by John D. Fitzgerald called The Great Brain. It was about a 10-year-old Utah con artist named Tom D. Fitzgerald who really inspired Rick. Rick loved physics and history. He especially enjoyed learning about the Royal Navy from the late 1700s to the early 1800s. Rick went to Taft Middle School in San Diego, but he dropped out in 10th grade to sell fake Gucci bags, making about $20 a week. In April 1981, Rick and his family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, because their parents' real estate business failed like the T-17. Rick faced another challenge when his girlfriend Kim G. O.T. pregnant. Even though they were young, Rick chose to step up and become a father. Sadly, the couple lost their first child to a miscarriage. They stayed together, got married in 1982, and had their first child, Corey, on April 27, 1983. Corey later became a big part of his father's business. 2 years later, they had their second child, Adam. Not long after Adam was born, Harrison and Kim separated in 1985. But Rick didn't stay single for long. Just 9 months after the divorce, he started dating Tracy. They dated for about 8 months before getting married in 1986. Together, they took care of Corey and Adam. We've talked about Rick's love for physics and history, which really helped his career. When his father opened a small second-hand gold and silver coin shop on Las Vegas Boulevard South in 1981, Rick's knowledge of history helped a lot. He could explain the background of each item. But at night, he also repossessed cars. 5 years later, the family moved to a bigger spot on Fremont Street. But they had to move again after 2 years because they lost their lease. In his autobiography, Rick explained that he and his dad had wanted to turn the store into a pawn shop for a while. They saw it as the next logical step. But a 1955 law in Las Vegas limited the number of pawn licenses based on the city's population. So they waited to apply until the population hit 250,000. By 1989, they finally got their pawn license after some legal challenges. That same year, the father and son opened the gold-silver pawn shop at 713 Las Vegas Boulevard South, not far from the Las Vegas Strip. At first, the father and son focused on special sports items and unique historical pieces. But over time, jewelry became their top-selling item. The business grew and became well-known in Las Vegas. By 2005, they were lending out millions each year and earning hundreds of thousands in I&T. Rest. The next year, the store got famous for rare sports items with interesting stories, like a 2001 Super Bowl ring that belonged to football player Brock Williams. They also helped gamblers who pawned things to get money for gas to get home. Their growth caught the attention of the History Channel, which led to Pawn Stars. The show premiered in July 2009. Brent Montgomery and Colby Gaines from Left Field Pictures came up with the idea during a visit to Las Vegas in 2008. They loved the interesting and shady pawn shops and thought they could have great characters. They looked for a family-owned shop for a TV series and found the Gold-Silver Pawn Shop, less than 2 miles from the Strip. This shop had already been in a PBS documentary in 2001. Rick, the manager and part owner, had wanted a show about his shop for years. He had even appeared in an episode of Insomniac with Dave Attell in 2003 that the show was first pitched to HBO, who didn't like the original idea, but let it change into the family-friendly style we know. It was originally called Pawning History, but later changed to Pawn Stars. The name is a playful pun on porn stars. The show is filmed at the famous gold-silver pawn shop in Las Vegas, Nevada. While jewelry is the most common item pawned, customers bring in all kinds of vintage or antique items. The shop has over 10,000 items in its inventory. During filming, the store closes to the public, with only a few approved customers allowed inside. The Harrison family became very popular because of the show. Many people watched it, left positive reviews, and wanted more, which helped the show grow. In January 2011, Pawn Stars was the top-rated show on the History Channel and the second highest-rated reality show after Jersey Shore. Then on June 7, 2011, Rick Harrison released his biography, License to Pawn, Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold Silver, which reached number 22 on the New York Times bestseller list by June 26, 2011. That same year, Rick divorced his second wife, Tracy. The next year, Rick, who had been divorced twice, announced his engagement to Deanna Burdett, who was also divorced. Rick was happy with the show's success and his growing popularity. He, Corey, and Chumlee appeared as themselves in an episode of iCarly titled, I Lost My Head in Vegas. 4 days later, Rick played an antique store owner in an episode of another series titled The Middle. Around this time, he married Deanna Burdett in Laguna Beach, California. Through this marriage, Rick gained 3 stepdaughters, Serena, Kiana, and Marissa. In January 2014, Rick became the spokesperson for the Micro Touch One razor, a men's shaving product, and appeared in a TV commercial for it. A few months later, the History Channel premiered United Stuff of America, a show from the producers of Pawn Stars that highlighted notable artifacts from important historical moments. In July 2014, the game show Pornography premiered on the History Channel. It featured Rick, Corey, and Chumlee competing against contestants to stop them from winning cash and items from the pawn shop's inventory. But sadly, a series of unfortunate tragedies happened to Rick and his family. Rick lost his father in June 2018. Richard Harrison, known as the Old Man on Pawn Stars, passed away. Rick announced it to over 245,000 Instagram followers on Monday, saying Parkinson's disease was the cause. A representative confirmed the same statement. The History Channel said they were very sad about the loss of their friend Richard the Old Man Harrison, a beloved member of the History and Pawn Stars family. They said they'd miss his wisdom and honesty, and their hearts were with the Harrison family during this tough time. Losing his father brought Rick immense sadness and made him fully responsible for the family and running the shop. Then the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2019, severely affecting the business and creating many challenges for Rick. With many people struggling during COVID-19, one might think pawn shops were thriving. After all, if you needed quick cash, a pawn shop was the place to go. But that wasn't the case for many businesses. There was an initial boost at the start, but it didn't last. In an interview with Fox News, Rick said COVID-19 had distorted the pawn shop business. The industry struggled to find its footing as people focused only on essentials, and visiting a pawn shop wasn't a priority to make things worse. Rick had to partially close his shop in March 2020 as cases rose. The tourist section closed for 30 days, though the financial side stayed open. According to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the shop's CFO said they kept buying assets and running the loan business through the night window 24/7 because people were hurting. Rick was ready to fight for his business. He told a local Las Vegas news station in April 2020 that they lowered interest rates, gave people more time to pick up items, and understood the tough times. He said he'd been to town a long time. It had given him a lot, and he always tried to give back. He thought the economy would bounce back in about 6 months, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. According to the Daily Mail in 2020, the gold-silver pawn shop, which usually made over $1 million each year, only earned $37,460 due to the pandemic. On top of that, Rick had to deal with a divorce from his third wife, whom he married in September 2020, according to court papers obtained by TMZ. Rick and Deanna Burdett drifted apart so much that they couldn't stay married. Rick said their tastes, opinions, and preferences had become too diff. Running a family business can be complex and tricky because money matters can break good relationships. Unfortunately, this happened between the son and mother. Rick and Joanne's bond was really affected by disputes over money. The complaint accused Rick of breaking a contract. It said that while his mother was in the hospital in the early 2000s, just after waking up from a coma, Rick had her sign over her 51% ownership of the pawn shop to him when she didn't fully understand what she was signing. This didn't put Rick in a good light, as fans had always seen him as family-oriented and not someone who would screw his family over money. When Richard passed away in 2018, his wife inherited his 49% share, but she claimed her son never gave her full financial records. She said she hadn't received proper records for more than $500,000 in cash and silver that she believed Richard had before he died. She said Rick had stopped sending her money from her late husband's share. He used to send regular $25,000 payments, but stopped in 2020. Joanne was trying to get that allowance reinstated through the courts. Many fans felt Rick's wealth was in danger. Joanne filed a temporary restraining order against her son to prevent him from selling any family assets. It would also stop him from moving or hiding cash or taking actions that would reduce her stake. The lawsuit asked for unspecified damages, a full account of assets, and a court order to stop Rick from using her money and to release control over her property through a constructive trust. However, Rick later said in an interview that the accusations were untrue and he believed his 81-year-old mother was being influenced by others for their own benefit, that Joanne's request stated that while Rick enjoyed his comfortable life as a celebrity in control of the family businesses and finances, she was left scared and unsure if she would have enough money for her medical and personal expenses each month. According to an article, Joanne was over 80 and had many health problems needing round-the-clock care, which could cost up to $155,000 per month. Rick said he only learned about the restraining order request from news reports. He said he had tried to contact her many times over the last few months, but couldn't reach her. In fact, one of the companies she was suing was completely owned by his mother. The Pawn Stars star seemed confused by his mother's lawsuit. Despite all these challenges, Rick's greatest and most devastating blow was yet to come in January 2024. Rick tragically lost his son. A public information officer in Clark County, Nevada, confirmed that the 39-year-old died from a fentanyl and methamphetamine overdose. The Clark County Office of the Medical Examiner ruled the death accidental. Concern arose when another resident noted his absence since January 17th. The landlord discovered him unresponsive, leading to a call to law enforcement. On January 19th, Harrison shared the news on Instagram by posting a picture of himself and Adam at a restaurant. "You'll always be in my heart. I love you, Adam Harrison," he captioned, adding a broken heart emoji. Laura Hervich, a spokesperson for the family, said in a statement on January 22nd that Adam reportedly passed away from a fentanyl overdose. "We are deeply saddened by Adam's passing. Please respect our privacy as we mourn his loss." Rick also commented in a statement that the fentanyl crisis in this country needs to be addressed more seriously. Many offered condolences to Rick's heartfelt Instagram tribute to his son Adam. Donald Trump Jr. simply commented, "I'm so sorry, man." Corey Harrison, Adam's older brother, posted a childhood photo of them on Instagram. In the post, he wrote, "I'll always love you, Bubba." Although Adam Harrison wasn't seen on Pawn Stars, he reportedly worked at Gold Silver Pawn at one point and later became a plumber. Corey had explained that Adam didn't seem interested in being on the show. Even with all these problems and sadness in his life, Rick stays positive and keeps his pain hidden behind his bright smile. Rick endorsed Donald Trump for president and Daniel Rodimer for Nevada's 3rd Congressional District in 2020. He even considered running for governor of Nevada in 2022. Rick also said he might run for U.S. Senate in 2024. "A lot of people in the party have talked to me about it, and I always consider it. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I'm keeping my options open." Rick received his Kentucky Colonel status during an episode of the Pawn Stars spin-off partly filmed at Locust Grove. He was inducted into the Kentucky Colonels in June 2023 in their grand parlor. The Kentucky Colonel is the highest honor given by the governor of Kentucky. Rick no longer works full-time at the pawn shop. Instead, He is now starring in Season 2 of Pawn Stars Do America. Despite a few legal issues, Rick seems to be enjoying his semi-retirement and continued reality TV fame while spending time with his grandchildren and family.